So I want you to close your eyes, root down through your sit bones, through your feet, and begin to roll the shoulders back a few times, then forward, and one more time up and down the back. Really press the shoulders away from the ears. And begin to notice what your breathing is like. Begin to slow the breath down. Taking steady breaths in, steady breaths out. Notice any tension in the body. Just release it with an exhale. I want you to imagine roots growing from your body down into the earth, providing beautiful grounding energy. And we'll start with 3 cleansing breaths. So as you empty the breath out, take a deep breath in through the nose and an audible exhale out through the mouth. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Audible exhale out through the mouth. Another deep breath in through the nose and just hold it at the top. Audible exhale out through the mouth. And begin to seal the lips and breathe in and out through the nose. Placing the left hand at the center of the chest, right hand on top of left. Just allow yourself to feel so much gratitude. Allow that gratitude to just flood your system, fill every cell of your being. This now invites you to set an intention for today's workshop. Allow yourself to be curious. Allow yourself to really receive the insights you are meant to receive in this specific moment in time. And with that, take an exhale out through the mouth and a deep breath in through the nose and an audible breath out through the mouth. And just enjoying a few more moments of stillness here. Taking steady breaths in, steady breaths out. And as you're ready, gently open your eyes, coming back to the present moment and the present space. All right, so if you joined in the middle of this meditation, drop in the chat where you're joining from, as well as what questions you might have and where you are in this journey from corporate to entrepreneurship. And today is really about me sharing my story. So for those who don't know me, my name is Alice. I'm a career astrologist and mindset coach for entrepreneurs. Before all of this, I was in e-commerce. I was in consumer marketing. I worked abroad in Asia for many years and then came back to the US and definitely had a lot of existential crises along the way. And today I'm super excited to be sharing my experience, how I made this transition, and why mindset is going to be the most important thing as you shift from working for someone else and to work for yourself, or begin to understand what that process may look like. Okay, so my story. So, like I said, I worked in corporate for many years, and I always felt like in the back of my head, it wasn't the right thing for myself. And it was very difficult because I am the type of person that has like a specific plan, and I have a 5-year plan, a whatever plan, and I go after it. And for the longest time, I was like, okay, so I'm going to work at a PR agency, I'm going to do a marketing role, I'm just going to slowly climb up, be a VP, like, whatever. And when I started working in this space, I realized, I was like, wait, is this it? I looked at all of my colleagues that were like 20, 30 years older than me. I'm like, I don't think I want to do this in 20, 30 years. And it was very soul crushing for me because we equate a lot of our identity with our jobs, which is not a good thing. And when you start to think about changing your job, it really undermines like your reality, your sense of safety, and your sense of self. these are like really, really big things. And so that's why a lot of people find it difficult to do what they really want, to stop working in a field that doesn't bring them joy once they have that realization. And they're like, well, it's been 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I don't know if I can leave like this like safety net, this stability, the money, whatever it may be. But more importantly, it's also like how you identify yourself. You're like, when you meet someone, it's very natural for someone to be like, oh, so what do you do? Instead of us asking like, what do you enjoy? Or like, who are you in this moment? What are you reading? Like the default is like, what's your name? What do you do? Et cetera, et cetera. And so it really frames our jobs and our identity to be one and the same. And this is why you yourself now may find it to be difficult to imagine a life where you are not a lawyer, where you're not in marketing, a doctor, or whatever you are doing in this moment, and shifting into something entirely different, or maybe it's structurally different in terms of working for yourself and doing something on your own. So I had my Saturn return, which is an astrological milestone that happens in your late 20s. So for those who are born in 91, 92, 93, 94, you're currently going through your Saturn return in Aquarius. And that all that means is like you're really reevaluating your career, your purpose, what you're meant to be doing in this lifetime. And so for anybody who's in that boat, let me know, drop a comment in the chat, because it can be a very stressful time, but it's also a very beautiful time because this is when so many people, including myself and many of my clients, transition from corporate into entrepreneurship. It's a big pivotal moment where you are being pushed to follow your purpose, follow your truth, and really start learning the lessons that you need to be learning in this lifetime. And so I've been dancing in and out of entrepreneurship my entire life. So even when I started a corporate job, I had a side hustle. You might be someone like me, like always doing something on the side, always exploring something. And for myself, I definitely felt it. And even up to a couple years ago, actually, that's not fair. It was right when I came back, like in 2015, 2016, I remember meeting people and they're like, oh, you sound like an entrepreneur. And I was just like, I don't know. And a lot of it was just the reluctancy of addressing like risk and fear of like, what am I supposed to do? Is this going to be the right thing? And so it was a lot of back and forth. And it wasn't until about 3 or 4 years ago, I had the strong realization of, I am an entrepreneur. I actually do want to do this. It was kind of like my soul and like my ego and my pride like fighting, like having an internal battle of like, this is what I really want to do, but it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of always the battle, and I'll talk about this, like shoulds and desire. Oh, I should do this. I should create a business that is like a marketing consultancy because I've always worked in like marketing, or like I should continue working on my side hustle and make it my full-time thing because it has been successful. But really, we should be operating from a place of desire. And so, before like this business, I had started an e-commerce business that I worked in full time. And even when I joined this business, because I had business partners that started it about a year before I joined, I was like, I don't think this is going to be my thing, but if I'm scared to do it on my own. So let me see what I can learn with other people. And so that's what I did for a little while. And to really discover my truth in like this specific business idea as a career astrologist and mindset coach went through like many different iterations. It The biggest difference that allowed me to come to this point and to realize like I wanted to start Woo Woo Company, which kind of progressed its way of me becoming like a career astrologist and mindset coach, was really just getting to know myself again, because we're constantly changing, and who we are actually is heavily influenced by society, our parents, our environment, our friends, our like family. And so it begins to be very muddled what is yours and what is not yours. what is someone else's, what is something that has been superimposed into your subconscious, into your belief system. And I realized for myself, once I was able to get quiet, go to yoga every single day, meditate, journal, figuring out what works for me so I can get to that quiet state and getting to know myself, being honest with myself. Um, I realized I was like, I think I want to create a different life for myself. And my Saturn is in Sagittarius. And so it's a lot of my Saturn return was reconfiguring my belief system and understanding what freedom means, because Sagittarius has a lot of these themes of like freedom. It's very philosophical and lots around like belief systems. And so it was like definitely a little intense, because basically my whole brain and internal system like got an upgrade slash a reboot. And since that period of time, like these last like 3-4 years, I've been integrating that and kind of reprogramming my brain to be a way that is like more supportive. Oh, I have a question. Let me see. Yeah. So, Stephanie, yeah, that was a tough time. That was a tough time, and I think because your Saturn is in Sagittarius, like you're always going to have a bit of an existential crisis, especially like when Saturn is in retrograde, which is currently now we have like 7 planets in retrograde, which just means like you're reevaluating, things are coming up, you're rethinking a lot of different things, which is very good. It's good for growth and progression. And so, I began to really just understand. And astrology is another thing that I use. And that's why I am now a career astrologist, because it helped me find so much clarity when I had no answers. No one around me had answers. I remember when I took the leap of exploring entrepreneurship, I was talking to certain people like in my workplace at an agency, or also just like peers and older peers too, that were like 20 years older. They're like, what are you going to do? Like, you're going to do something else for a couple of years and then you're going to like come back to the same thing. Or they're just like, oh, I don't really know. Like, you have a great job. Like, everything was great on paper, but nothing felt right. So let me know if you also like feel the same as well. Ah, nice. Jacqueline's also the same. And it's just such a troubling feeling of, you're just like, no one else feels this way. Am I ungrateful? Am I crazy? And especially like if you are like a woman, if you're just underrepresented, a person of color, first generation, your parents are immigrants, or it becomes even more difficult to make this transition and to understand like, what do you really want? What do you really deserve? And to kind of separate the shoulds and the desires, like what you want and what others want. Yeah, feeling ungrateful. It's so much guilt. There's a term that I put in my last like Instagram post that I'm like forgetting now. It's not survivor's guilt, but it's something else, where, and it's, this term is usually used for when a child of like immigrants like decides to like not just work anymore and to go into higher education, and kind of wants to get out of the poverty cycle, but is doing something very different from their community. And I extrapolated the meaning of this term, and I'll find it and I'll link you the post. It's my most recent one, like when I do the recap email for this workshop. But I extrapolated that meaning to also extend into like when you are leaving a comfortable, great paying job or stable job and going after something that's really risky, starting your own thing and really trusting yourself. So starting a business is really the ultimate test of like your intuition and your belief and confidence in yourself. And it can be very difficult to make that transition when you are a person of color, when you are the child of immigrants, because there's so much baggage, there's so much expectation. I know that's what I felt for myself. And I've had to release a lot of these things. And so I'll share a little bit more about common challenges now. It was a nice segue. So I found like these 4 things to be challenges that sometimes I could even continue to face. Like, I will always tell you the truth. I think a lot of coaches out there, a lot of wellness people who have risen to the top and have a lot of followers are the ones that are really successful right now, or they have a specific like way of doing things that are like, oh, this worked for me, blah, 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 blah. And this is like the way you should do it. But really, I'm all about like listening to your intuition and knowing that your journey might have like a lot of like twists and turns, because I know I'm still figuring things out. And I even felt hesitant about doing this workshop because I don't have it all figured out. I can't confidently say, like, oh, this is the path to making six figures, or this is the business idea that you should really do. Because even if I looked at your astrology, even if I do an energy reading for you, your own lived experiences are going to shape those things in a very different way. And so all I can really share with you is my experiences and how to really deepen the connection with yourself and in your intuition, because your intuition is going to be that guiding light. It's going to be that map for you. And so these are challenges that I've had to really face like myself on a consistent basis, but also things I talk about with my clients. So confidence, believing in yourself, believing in your ideas, and knowing that you can be uncertain and confident at the same time. Now, you have to recognize that, imagine like when you're feeling confident, how you show up, or when you're feeling uncertain and well, I don't want to use uncertain because you can be uncertain and confident, but when you're feeling like shy and like just not good about yourself, having like low self-esteem, low confidence, like these two people show up very differently. And we've all been in that place when we felt really confident, and other times that we haven't felt as confident. And the reason why this is like really important for you to recognize and to shift yourself in to a place where maybe you don't feel exactly confident, but you can feel authentic and truthful. And that's how I'm showing up today in my most authentic and truthful way. Because when you operate from a place of confidence, like your thoughts change that way, your actions, like everything becomes expansive. When you are feeling like low self-esteem, everything feels like a contraction. It's the same as abundance, expansion, and scarcity, contraction. So we always want to find ways where we can feel more expansive, because that's when we are more solutions oriented. Because when we are feeling not great about ourselves in our abilities and feeling like everything is stacked against us, this is what we begin to see like the world in our reticularly activating system in our brain. Like you begin to see like all the things that aren't working out for you. But when you shift and say, how are things working out for you? How are things growing? Then that's what you begin to see. It's kind of like if you go around like for the rest of the day, like finding like, I challenge you, I invite you to do this for the rest of the day, maybe the rest of like the week and the weekend. Think of ways of like the signs of like that you can do this, that you can start exploring entrepreneurship, and that you have the support that you need in your community, in people online, like through this workshop and other resources. Like start seeing that and believing it. And it's kind of like a chicken egg. You see it, you believe it, you believe it, you see it, like that type of stuff. One foot in, one foot out. Up until like last year, like I always felt like I don't know, I guess I could always go like for a like go back to a 9 to 5, or is this like what I really want to do? And that gives you mixed results. And so really I invite you to just be all in and kind of dedicating your time and energy for a specific period of time with having some goals that allow you to understand, is this working? And once that time period is, reevaluate, reconfigure, and do it all over again. Like continue to reiterate. And know that you can always change things, and it's not a big deal. Like even with like this workshop, when I did this about like 4 or 5 months ago, I was promoting a different program, and today I'm going to share a different program that I feel like more aligned to, that I feel like is going to be the type of person that I want to help like most in this moment, that's going to be most in alignment. And so it's really just figuring things out and just being all in, because when you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, just like even in any type of friendship or romantic relationship, like people feel it. And so really finding a way to be all in. And what does that look like for you? Another big thing that I like see a lot with my clients recently this year is being too practical. So don't bring your corporate baggage into your business. Like don't create a business that kind of perpetuates some of the things that you hate about like your current job or jobs that you've had in the past. If like really design it so that it works for you, from the product or the service that you want to create. If you don't want to work Mondays, don't work Mondays. If you really don't like, let's say you want to be a coach, but you don't want to do one-on-ones, figure out what does it mean to create like a static course, an evergreen course, a workbook, a product. Like you are like, oh, like I don't know if I could handle inventory of 10 different products. Just focus on one product and go all in on that one product. There is no playbook, and whatever feels right for you is going to be the right choice. People always forget when you start a business, there are actually two things you're creating: the actual service and the product, as well as the way that you do things. This is something I talk about constantly with entrepreneurs, with my friends, with my peers, in that you get to choose how you create your business. You get to choose the type of people you want to hire. Like, you don't always need to hire like a VA. You could hire someone who is going to be a consultant, someone who's going to be a strategic hire, a strategic person to help you. There is no one way to do something to create a business, because there is also just no one way to like be you. um, or rather, there's only one version of you, and so you will do business in a unique way. And it doesn't have to be like all or nothing. A lot of times people are afraid to start because they begin to kind of like think of all the things that they would have to do, like, but honestly, the first step is to be curious. And the first step is to come to this workshop, is to watch the replay, is to surround yourself with people who are doing what you desire to do and create in the world, and really to enjoy the process. I remember, like, when I first got into entrepreneurship like full time, I was like, okay, we have to like make X amount of money. We have to do things in a certain way. We have to figure out how to exit, how to raise money. And then after a while, I was just like, there's different ways to do things. It doesn't have to look one way. And I was so busy getting to the next milestone, kind of like what I would do in a corporate career, like that promotion, that next job, that I really forgot to see the beauty in the present moment. And this is something that I remind myself every single day, because what your business looks like today could look very differently in a couple weeks and a couple months, because things happen so much faster when you are a solopreneur, or when you are the person calling all the shots and being the visionary and being the leader. Okay, so what are the big shifts that need to happen from corporate to entrepreneurship? So, needing to release guilt. You don't have to have it all figured out, and to understand that rest is productive. It's just like how farming, like you have to like let the fields rest. You can't just keep on farming and planting seeds and things like in a field. It has to like have time to, forget the word, like to I think it's fallow, like just to kind of like rest. And people like have found a lot of wisdom in following the natural cycles of nature, of the earth. And so we have those things. We're not meant to be working all the time. And what I found very important is that I took a lot of time to just rest. I took a lot of time in between jobs. You can, and financially, if you're not able to take X amount of time off, like work a job that isn't going to require as much like mental thinking for you. Okay. Something that you're very good at, or something that you can just like leave at work. So releasing guilt of needing to have it all figured out, but also releasing any guilt you have in like, oh, like this is not what my parents or my community expected of me. You have one life to live. And when your cup is full, when you are coming from a place of empowerment and desire and happiness, it's contagious, which is why it's so important for everyone to live a life that is most aligned to them. And you're doing a disservice for everyone in your life when you're just kind of like on autopilot and going with what you think you should be doing. Because at the end of the day, like at whose expense? It's at your expense. So no shoulds, come from a place of desire. Like, what do you really want to do? And ask yourself these tough questions. Like after this workshop, when you're listening to the replay again, it can be very helpful. I always like to listen to like workshops, readings multiple times, because like information will sink in differently, like different times that you listen. And don't create a business because you think it's going to be successful. Like this is the practical way of doing things. Create it because you really want to make a difference in the world, especially all of my Saturn in Aquarius is like, you're meant to be doing something different. You're meant to lean into your innovative like thinking, your different perspective, and your desire to recreate, redesign the way that we live and our future. Now, cultivating your energy. Now, how you show up, like really, really matters, because if showing up at 80%, how you show up is going to be the flavor. And when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling stressed, like that's not the place that you want to come from. And I'll share like I think it's the next slide, like how you can cultivate your energy. And it's not to say like you're always going to feel great every single day, because you're not. And it's not about like toxic positivity. It's about understanding how to harness your emotions and channeling it in so that it's productive. I know that when I feel like stuck or stagnant, that means I need more action. I need to talk to someone that gives me a new perspective, but I also need to feel like something is happening, that I'm building momentum. So I have to take action. And then most importantly, the art of selling. So whatever business you're going to create, you're going to need to sell, and find a selling method that works for you from a place of like authenticity, and really pay attention to what your body is telling you, because that's how intuition really likes to communicate with you. So a lot of times people come to me like, oh, well, I've been in sales, like it's going to be easy. Well, it's very different when you have to sell yourself. Just like I come from a marketing background, but it has been very difficult for me to think and see clearly for myself. It is always going to be more difficult for you to like have a clear perspective on what you do, which is why it's so important for you to find mentors, find coaches, find guides that can give you that different perspective, a different view of yourself, your business, your offerings, your services, your products, whatever it may be. So really finding a way of selling, sharing that works for you, very, very important. Okay, so success mindset. So this is something that we don't talk about, but I believe will be more commonplace in the coming years, in the coming decades. Just kind of don't know like when, but definitely probably within 5 to 10 years. Everyone who's like a high performing executive who is a big CEO is going to have a coach, a mentor, a therapist, all of the above, because you have to train your brain every single day, because your brain is already getting influenced. Your subconscious is getting influenced through entertainment, media, news, what you watch, what you listen to, the advertisements you see on the street. And so being an active participant in how you're programming your belief system, your mindset is going to be key, because oftentimes it's very easy to default going into why things couldn't work out and the negative rather than the positive. So every day we have to shift into the positive, and to clear our negative emotions. It's like taking the trash out, or like going to the bathroom, like brushing your teeth, like these things we have to do, but nobody teaches us. Nobody's like, oh yeah, like every morning you should kind of like meditate and kind of think about how you want to show up and write your intention down. Like very few people are talking about this. They talk about self-care and well-being from a very consumerist approach of buy a spa package, get your nails done, like buy something, treat yourself, like go out for a vacation. But are these things really solving like key issues or allowing you to understand yourself? Like, no, true self-care is to kind of meet yourself where you are and see your shadow self and do the shadow work of addressing your fears, your anxieties, because these are things you have to get over it to like kind of get to the next level in like the mental game that is life. And that is like, creating a safe, growth oriented home in the mind, because you want to make sure that your mind is a safe place. And I know for myself, sometimes it's savage. It's like a war in there. And I'm like, why did you do this to yourself? Okay, so the power of routine. What's really helped me is to figure out a routine that works for me in the morning and in the evening. This is going to change based on the seasons of your life, and also just like what you need. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour. And so a morning routine, setting your intention, move your body, read something inspirational, have fun. And it's important for you to realize that your rituals and your routines are meant to help you, and they should never feel like a chore. Anytime they feel a little bit, like you're dragging your feet, that means like you really need to figure out something else that works. So no shoulds, only desires. And then an evening routine is really important as well, because it's kind of like it's cyclical, right? So to have a good evening routine is to have a good morning routine, and like vice versa. If you don't sleep enough, if you're sleeping late, then it's going to be hard for you to wake up and feel energized and ready to start the day. So in the evening, reflecting on like what went right, what are your gratitudes, a wind down activity. I like to read, I like to journal, and really importantly, get well rested sleep. I really can't emphasize this enough. It's something I've learned in the last few years of like, a lot of times we put a Band-Aid on sleep of like drinking caffeine. And there is nothing that can replace good sleep and enough sleep. So figure out, do you need 5 hours, 8 hours? It varies like from person to person, but also like at what age too. And sleep is really important for emotional regulation, emotional processing, memory, cognition. And I know that if I don't get enough sleep, like I'm like clumsy, I bump into things, I'm irritable, and I'm fuzzy. Like my mind is very clouded, and my intuition, like it's almost kind of like an antenna. It's like there's a lot of static. It's not very clear. So really being intentional about how you're living every single day will allow you to get the clarity that you are seeking. I promise it really is that easy. All of the things that I'm like sharing that will allow you to feel more connected with your intuition, to know next steps, and like when do I leave my job, what type of business do I start, all comes from just coming home to yourself, um, and to be honest with yourself as well. Okay. So other things for like mindset shifting is future self affirmation. I've like recorded things like on my phone through voice notes. I play it every morning. Anytime I'm feeling kind of like wobbly in my like how I feel, how I'm showing up, releasing negativity. That's something helpful to do, like throughout the day. And I have the releasing negativity meditation. I'll send it in the recap. It's very helpful. It's also on my podcast, Into the Woo. I have lots of different types of meditations there as well. And also recognizing that when you are afraid, when you're experiencing fear, that it really is a tool to help you understand like where you need to be more curious about, because oftentimes when you're afraid to do something, it's the thing you need to do the most. And also the language of your subconscious, it also relates to future self affirmation. So I learned this year that I actually have a different programming language, like subconscious programming language. I was actually raised in Chinese and also Shanghainese, which is a local dialect in China. And so my subconscious is actually programmed in this language that my parents spoke to me in. So if you're already doing affirmations and meditations and you're like they're not working, I would really encourage you to like record it, or ask your parents or someone to record. Like it doesn't have to be perfect, obviously, like the language that you were raised in. And that was a big realization I had, and also something that you could use for your future self affirmation as well. Language is very important because it allows us to understand like what is possible for ourselves and what we can do. Like, can you imagine if like English didn't have the word fear? Like, can you experience fear if you can't describe it? See, that's something that's like really interesting. And for myself, like I asked my mom to record like an affirmation for me earlier this year that was like, you will be successful, like, and like you are brave, you're courageous, be confident, all of that in Chinese. And when I listened to this recording, like I felt so many emotions. And it was just so intense for me. And I learned words that I like never paid attention to or never really knew in my conscious mind. I learned like the words, the term for financial freedom. Like that's wild. Like my first language is Chinese. Like it is my native tongue. It's what I was raised in. Even after English became like my primary dominant language at home, my parents spoke to me in Chinese. And I don't know financial freedom. That's a big word, big important word to know, so that I can recognize that that can be for myself. So these are some like really big shifts that have really helped me. And now I want to take some time to answer any questions you have before I share a little bit more about the corporate to entrepreneurship program that I have specifically for women of color that's going to be starting in a couple weeks. Questions? Comments? No questions or comments? Like, I don't like to make people stay if like they're not interested. They just like, I just wanted to come for the free workshop. So if you want to like, dip out, like that's totally fine. or stay, listen to the program that's coming up. I'm really excited about it. It's something that I've been secretly wanting to create for so long, and actually what I have been doing, but I've been afraid that, oh, I'm going to be alienating like, people who aren't like women, or people who aren't women of color or first generation. But it is the support that I really need. I know that so many people need, just based on my own experience. There's so many more challenges and hurdles like I experience as a woman of color, that is like extremely important. Oh, Jackie has a question. What advice do you have in finding one's purpose? I have lots of advice on that. So again, like what I said before, like getting quiet and getting to know yourself and really following your desires and following like be curious about what you're interested in. And for myself, like I found astrology to be really, really like so profoundly helpful. And I've looked at like my Saturn placement, I've looked at my North node and my South node to really figure out like, oh, like this is what my purpose could look like. And so I'll follow up in the email about if you are curious about getting a career astrology reading. I have like two types: one that's like pre-recorded, that's only $55, one that's like a live 45-minute session where you're able to ask me questions or really to like dive deep. And that's like $333. And you get the recording as well, like obviously for both of them, but especially for the second one. But it's allowed a lot of my clients to just like feel affirmed about the path that they're taking, to have like these key realizations of like, oh, I've always been interested in graphic design, or I've always been interested in plants, but I thought it was like silly. And then I'll be like, no, this is actually part of your purpose, to lean into being an artist, or to create a business. And they feel so affirmed and so grateful that like has been shared with them, because you just sometimes need like a little bit of a confidence boost. So really getting quiet, spending time outdoors, journaling, meditating, those are great ways to figure out what your purpose is, because you begin to understand what you really desire, and then start like following those breadcrumbs and just try different things. Reach out to different people, ask about like what their experiences have been like. Come to workshops like this. Okay. Keep on dropping your questions in the chat as I go. So this is the program that I've like always wanted to create. And like, what's in this program? This is a program that's going to help you transition from being a corporate warrior to an entrepreneur. We're working on developing a sense of stability and confidence, trust from within, so that you can feel more empowered about making this transition. But most importantly, like I tell people who have been asking about this program, you definitely can stay in your 9 to 5. In fact, I encourage it, because as it's a very productive way to quiet quit, kind of like coasting at work, but also doing something productive to figure out your next steps. And so during this program, like the key thing is allowing you to really discover like an idea that you want to explore, and really going after it and creating an actual plan for you to discover this idea, and then for you to feel confident about moving it forward. Because one of the hardest things is to start. It's like, okay, I like what to start, and then how to start. Like, okay, I have this idea. I want to start a floral business, but I'm really shy. I don't know if like people are going to think this is silly. Like now that I have this idea, like, there's so many things involved. And so this program is really designed to help you feel more confident in making that transition by first having the idea, but also the actual steps to making a reality, and having a bunch of tools like how to tap into your intuition, really getting a routine like that works for you, so that you can continue this momentum well after the program is done. And these are some of the workshops that we'll be covering: rituals to shift your mindset from corporate to entrepreneurship, activating your intuition for clarity, stepping into confidence, empowering yourself, figure out your business idea, transmuting limiting beliefs, another business idea check-in. So many different things. And it's like workshops that are live and recorded. There's going to be a workbook that's given to you at the start of the program to help you ideate, because there are some people who go through this program, they will feel more clear at the end of it, but they will not have had that idea yet. And that's totally fine. But my desire is for you to get the idea, or get as close as possible, because we're all on our different timelines, and we must really honor that. But everything you have here, like you'll get to keep and like review and see like how it progresses. And like when I started my business, it was events. And it was nothing about me. I was showcasing like other psychics, like other astrologists, like other like Reiki practitioners, like just and I was like behind the scenes. And through these last few years, I've become really the face of my business and my brand, so much so that I'm the one doing readings now. I'm the one that's like center stage and being like the main character of my business. So know that the idea, the service, the product or have like will shift and change like through time, especially if you're offering like a service, because that's even faster to change than like a physical product. Okay, so who is this program for? So this program is going to be for someone who knows they want to leave their corporate job eventually, even if it's not this year. You want to start your own business or kind of explore that option, what that might look like. And right now you're feeling a bit overwhelmed and need support and a roadmap. And you may not feel like you're able to make a decision. Maybe you have a bunch of different ideas. Maybe you're unsure where to start, but you're definitely feeling like a little muddled. You want to feel more confident and clear about the business you want to create. You're ready for coaching, investing time and resources to make it happen. You love or are curious about astrology, mindfulness, journaling, spirituality, and you are a woman of color or someone that identifies as a woman. For those who are on the call who aren't women and are women of color, like I have other options, like in terms of like, I have this 1 month container that you can work with me on. You can sign up for like a career astrology reading or an intuitive business session. There's many other ways to work with me as well as courses. And I'll probably like launch a different course like in a couple of months as well. So just stay tuned, but also just let me know like, what challenges are you going through? What struggles are you going through? And I will tell you like which of my offerings will make the most sense. Now, something that I've really discovered with clients who are women of color and for myself, there are so many of these common challenges that we feel more acutely than others. And this is just like a laundry list that I've had to go through for myself and for my clients, specifically difficulty with being seen and heard, guilt about taking the entrepreneurial path, afraid to set boundaries, generational trauma and fear, the desire to fit in, feeling unworthy, feeling like you have to you can't do things on your own or like you have to rely on yourself. But really, the last few things I want to share like in this workshop is you don't have to do it alone. And it's important to take the emotion out of things. So sometimes you can feel like your business, your product, your service is so much a part of you that you can't see clearly. And when someone doesn't buy, you feel so hurt. But really taking an objective standpoint and looking at the data and reiterating and knowing that you're getting closer and closer to something that is a better product market fit is going to make you feel a lot better. And to be always curious and solutions oriented instead of like letting your emotions take over. And to get like the mentors, the friends, the coaches you need to really help you get to where you want to be. Okay, so this is a bunch of like common challenges, and I'll send the PDF out so you can kind of like read it a little bit more. But this is something that I've worked on for myself and with my clients as well. And what you can expect through this program, it's a 6-week program or a 3-month program. I sent a bunch of surveys out a couple of weeks ago to ask people who are initially interested in this program. And it seemed like those are the 2 options that people really most interested in. So discover a business idea that excites you, developing your intuition, which will help you with so many other things in your life. A lot of my clients like buy homes, start dating people, just because like your intuition is like your superpower. It's going to help you in all areas of your life and beyond like the duration of this program. Shifting into a growth mindset, figuring out what that means for you, activating your personal power, learning to trust yourself, super, super important. Recognize and understand your values and how they translate into the business you want to create. That's going to be extremely important. So you create something that's really aligned to, your desires and something that feels good to you, not just looks good. And of course, like less anxiety about how to create a business and how to make the transition. Like when you have someone who has done it, and I will always be honest of like, hey, stay in your job until you feel comfortable. You're going to feel this like a little bit of a pull. It's never going to be a good time to start a program, to start a business, but you'll know your intuition will like get really loud and you'll start to see the signs. You're like a friend will say something, you'll see something on the street, all of that. So this is a transformation that you can look to experience during this program. So this starts on October 25th, which is going to be the start of eclipse season as well. So it's a majorly transformative time. So I chose October 25th because it's a new moon eclipse in Scorpio. So all about transformation. Now, either 6 weeks or 3 months. This is the first time I'm doing this program specifically, and there's an early bird price, and also just severely discounted. Like usually it's a couple $1,000s a month, but I was like, you know what? I want to do something that I'm testing out that's new. And so 6 weeks, it's 555, or 1111 for 3 months. And again, you get lots of different resources like workbooks, workshops, pre-recorded workshops. And there's also an option to add on one-on-one sessions with me as well. So that's an introduction to the corporate to entrepreneurship program. I'm excited to start it in a couple of weeks. If you're feeling called to do this, please, you can DM me, you can email me. I'll follow up via email as well. But I'm excited for you to start on your journey wherever you are. I really believe in you. Take your time, believe in yourself, ask for help, seek the resources, the information, the people you need. Because remember that it's not like if you're going to be successful, it's when. Okay, it's not if, but when. Okay, I think that's everything I have for you today. And I will stop recording. If anybody